welcome to the FMCG Guys, the podcast that dives into the innovation, strategy, and trends shaping consumer goods and retail in Europe and beyond.
Welcome to the FMCG Guys podcast. I'm Daniel Torres. If this is the first time you tune into this show, you'll want to know that we're now 200 episodes in. So go into our website to catch up with some of the most inspiring people in the FMCG and retail industries. And today, if you're on YouTube, you already see we are recording live from the Barcelona Media Hub here in the middle of the Poblenou neighborhood. So if you're listening in, you'll want to know that you can also watch us live on YouTube. We're always on YouTube, but normally only audio. And today we're actually also on video, which is amazing. And today we speak about a very exciting topic. We've covered it a bit on the podcast, but maybe a couple of years or a year and a half ago. The topic is food service aggregators, FSAs. So think Deliveroo, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Glovo, depending on what market you are at, you'll probably have a different one. That's something we'll talk about for sure. And to speak about the untapped potential of this channel for FMCG brands, and also to speak about the channel in general, because I think it's quite fascinating how it's evolved. We're accompanied by no other than Gael Peigné, who's the product VP at Shalion. Hi, Gael. Welcome.
Nice to meet you, Daniel.
Good to see you here in Barcelona. We've gone through a terrible week weather-wise.
Yes, but this week is not great, but overall the average is much better than in Paris.
Really?
Yes, it is.
Well, yeah, I
can confirm.
But this week has been a bit underwhelming. Although I have to say, here in Catalonia, we do need a lot of water because we've gone through a drought. So hopefully that will help fill the pools this summer. So, Gael, thanks for accompanying me today. Can you tell us a bit about who you are, what you do?
Yes, for sure. So, I am product VP at Shalion, and basically my journey has been, I've been in many experiences, but I would say that there is a motto in my, career is to help brands winning on the shelf. And for that, helping them with data coming mostly from retail on shoppers, but mostly retail. And when I started my career, I started in NPD, which is not Circana, in toys and games. And soon I moved to FMCG in Nielsen. And basically here it was really about how to help brands winning the last mile. And for this, you have this famous concept of the 4 Ps. That you might have read, people have read on the reading Kotler in their marketing courses. And basically is to say, okay, if you make this right on the last mile, actually you are going to optimize your sales. And basically these 4 Ps are present. So making sure your product is there, and putting the right product in the right place, price, promotions, and with the various types of promotion that you can have, on placement, which is basically you have a shelf, in the shelf you have a planogram, and being in the right place. Obviously, you want to be in the middle, size level, and also having facings that enable you to be seen. So that's where I started my career. So my career was really offline. At this time, e-commerce was not that big. Moved to several roles, local, global. I moved to a brand, actually. I worked at Pernod Ricard.
Yeah, I saw, yeah.
Yeah, in the holding. Very interesting experience working in customer development, so at global level with retailers, but also with affiliates. And they are developing frameworks on category management and promotion effectiveness. Category management, at the end of the day, it's a bit the same thing. I mean, it's where the brand plays a role as a consultant, as a provides recommendations on the 4 Ps, but this time for the retailer.
Yeah.
So at the end, it's a bit the same. It's a similar process, let's say. And I then moved to a company that came to me and reached out to me. They wanted to build their operation in Europe, and particularly the account management and consulting. And actually, they have this time a framework which was called Digital Shelf. And they were really the first to invent it. This company was Clavis, that became after Edge by Essential when they got acquired. And they were the first to have this framework to optimize the sales on e-commerce. And it was, at the end, a little bit the same concept on the 4 Ps, but adapted to e-commerce, which is assortment, price, and promotions. At the end, it's a bit the same thing. But then you have the placement, which is quite different, because here it's not 2-dimension, it's one.
And it's limitless as well.
It's limitless in terms of assortment, but the visibility, people go rarely after the first page of the search. So there is this ability to understand the shopper journey, which page they visit, and then being listed being visible on this on these pages. And then, of course, also another very big difference is the product detail page. Is that here, offline is the packaging, but online you have it all described actually on your product page. So these are the different ones, plus the retail media that came a little bit after. And I would say that it was music to my ears, because basically it was a concept that I immediately understood. And so, okay, there is an opportunity to really help the brands on this area. And I worked on this during, 7 years, I think. And then I met actually the founders of Shalion, I think it was in 2020, and they showed me their project. And they showed me, for example, how good they were on tracking retail media, which was not the case in my previous company. And I was wondering, okay, but how?
And in 2020, not many people were doing it.
Exactly. But we are seeing a potential. That's we could see that there was a path, and it was going to the right direction. And I wonder, okay, but why these guys are that good at this, and us been doing 10 years we are not able to do it? And what we understood is that this digital shelf concept, basically to obtain it, it's about scraping. You go, so it's technical. You have to go to the website, as part of the data. It's fully legal, and it's public information. And then to clean it and basically present it in a effective way to customers. And this thing, actually, to be good at it, you need to be a mix of technical company and inside company. And also you have to be very driven by innovation, because things change quite fast. And beyond that, also you need to be, I would say, vertically integrated. This means that if you start outsourcing, for example, the data acquisition or a part of your process, knowing that, e-commerce data is not very stable. I mean, the site change all the time. You have always something to do.
Yeah.
So you need to own completely the full process. So I thought a little bit about it, and finally I joined Shalion in 2022, playing a lot of roles, because actually, in a startup and in this type of
How big was the company when you joined it?
We're already 50 people, but then it grew. I mean, it's more than doubling now. And actually, and we have particularly now a global footprint. I mean, that we opened a office in the US. We have obviously quite a strong footprint in operations in LATAM. It's Barcelona-based.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Quite close to your office, actually.
It is just up the road.
Yes. And we have operations in Europe as well. So basically, we have really this global footprint. And I would say that, yes, what interested me in Shalion, and beyond the fact that there are already tools that are really there to help customers, and in my opinion, in a better way than competitors can do, they have also this potential, this capacity to evolve and to adapt to the disruption of the market, which for me is the most interesting. And I think particularly, e-commerce, there are disruption upcoming, and I think they are really well placed to address them.
And so what is like Shalion? What does Shalion look like right now?
In terms of
what does the business look like in the areas of specialization?
So what we do is, we are specialized on digital shelf, but our approach is that we really cover everything that brand needs to monitor their performance on e-commerce. And beyond that, we have superior capabilities in terms of scraping. So we are really able to scrape all, or to get the data from all the types of e-commerce retailers, the click on mortars, the marketplace, the apps, which are, tricky to scrape. And we are really able to cover all these needs. And this is really the thing, is that we are yes people. We want really to address all the needs of the customers. And for that, we develop the tech to do it.
Yeah. And you have probably one of the most complicated, you probably won't admit that, but you have one of the most complicated roles, because in product, you basically have to link the business needs and the tech. That's how I would define it. How would you define your role?
I have a lot of help, because I'm not the most techie guys. So I have...
well, you can't be when you're in product, right? You can't be like the tech guy, but you can't be exactly. Also... You can't be like... You have to know that, you have to kind of understand that what the tech can do for you.
But actually, we have two things. First, we have the help from our customers. Because we work with... For example, I will give you an example. We... Affinity, the pet food company, came to us and told us, okay, on Amazon, your digital shelf solution, the digital shelf solution that we have are quite good, but they don't reflect the vocabulary of Amazon or the way we work on Amazon or the feature on Amazon. So we would need something specific for that. So actually they came to us, we worked with them on a workshop to understand what they need, and we developed a tool for this. So basically I am more the guy who is in the middle, between the customer who provides the brief and then the tech teams who develop the data structure and the solution to address it.
What do you like about being in product?
I've been in several roles, so in sales, in customer success, in consulting, in product. I think what I like the most is that, when you begin in your career, basically you help some few customers, and you adapt the solution to address their need. When you're in product, somehow you product at a bigger scale. Mm-hmm. This means that what you do impact actually more people. So you have more pressure, obviously, but at the same time, it's more, it's fulfilling because basically you think, okay, I think I am really trying to help as many people as possible.
Yeah. And you were talking about how you've personally done the journey from the physical shelf to the digital shelf. Mm-hmm. In that journey, how have you seen like the evolution of e-commerce, especially like in the FMCG grocery space?
If I compare just offline, online, so as I told you, at the end, the process is a bit the same, but the big difference, I would say, online is the fact that there are algorithms. Now, if I talk specifically, because of algorithms, just to go a little bit further, mm-hmm. the way you rank organically on the page depends on the quality of your product page, because on other things like the sales, for example, but overall you can influence your visibility also working with other components, which is different because if you take the classical 4Ps offline, actually everything is independent. Here it's not, it's linked. Now, the evolution of e-commerce, I would say there have been disruptions, but now I think I would really differentiate two types of e-commerce, two types of industries. There are what I would call the durables that often people talk about. This is electronics, this is toys and games, part of beauty, where basically people spend a lot of time on the discovery, mm-hmm. and basically you win if you are able to inspire people and then have a frictionless conversion. But many people talk about them because there have been many disruptions. Amazon is predominantly in this area. Temu, even TikTok Shop is more actually on this area. And then you have FMCG. FMCG is quite different, and actually the process is quite different for customers. What they are looking for, above all, is convenience. Basically, you have the store, but you want to save time. You want to access quicker to your to the list of products that you want to have. So basically, here it's about being convenient and being and also being generate some impulse purchase, because you know that at the last mile you have possibilities to influence the customer or to switch brand or to add something in your basket. Yeah, and there have been also innovations. The main one has been to make it simple to get delivered, and now all the retailers have actually step up in this area to have different options: click and collect, home delivery, sometimes even express delivery. So you have all these options. And basically now it's easier. I'm not saying that they have completely sorted out the topic, and I think that there are still innovations that are going to come that are going to make it more convenient, but there is that. Now, in this area, what has been interesting, and we come to the FSAs, is actually there has been this new channel of retail intermediaries, so which are between the retailers and the shopper, and who have been placing themselves to address other needs. Basically the FMCG retailers, most of the times, the groceries, they are helping you for the weekly stock up. So to the full basket, so you order a certain number of products for you and the family, and basically you get delivered. And actually, they have these actors, and you received a person from Deliveroo in one of your episodes, because I'm a listener of
Yes, Susie McClintock.
Yes, and she was explaining actually that the mission that they fulfill is quite different from the retailers, because they are more for the last minute, the you complete your purchase.
Which, to be frank, that's how I shop.
Yeah,
like that. My shopping pattern, probably because I'm a city guy, is not to go and do like this big shopping for a month. It's more like day to day kind of shopping.
Yeah, and it's true. And actually, several people. There are several behaviors according to the stage of your life on the side of your household. But it's true that actually these new intermediaries provide actually this ability actually to address additional missions that usually was not for e-commerce. Normally, people were just going to a convenience store close to them and purchase them.
Yeah, and so FSAs, food service aggregators, how would we define them? Like, what is the parameter?
Now, it's quite interesting because I would say that now there is a convergence between them. But I would say we define them as retail intermediaries. So it's people who are going to go to the retailer, but it can be also restaurants because let's see it today. Their main activity is to deliver from restaurants.
Yeah,
but they are also able to provide services like going to a retailer and provide the product, and also they have a quick commerce activity. I mean, being able to deliver very fast. So these people I would consider are these intermediaries that deliver in a effective way to your
So let's name them: Deliveroo,
yes,
Uber Eats.
So they are the big ones. I mean, if you take the leader, it's Meituan. So it's a Chinese actor, which is from far, but they have 2/3 of the market now. So they're
in China.
Yes.
Wow.
So there are two companies there, LA.me on these ones, and there is a third one coming now. The big ones in the US is DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, and in Europe you have. The thing is that normally by market you will have 2-3 actors. Okay, it's rare to be able, or otherwise you have to be positioned as a niche, and you can eventually compete on for example, for a premium service. But most of the time, there are actually few of them. But now they change by country, and you have beyond the ones I have talked about in Europe. You have 2 big groups of FSAs. There is Delivery Hero, which owns Glovo, Talabat, Foodpanda. And you have another one called Just Eat, which is a brand in itself that merged with Takeaway. So they have Takeaway, and actually they have about Grubhub as well. So there is this agglomeration of brands that are together in bigger groups.
And why do you think this channel is interesting for FMCG brands?
Well, there is two big things. Is that I would differentiate grocery and restaurants. On grocery, it's an additional channel, and it enables for the brand to basically generate incremental sales, because that's sales that maybe wouldn't have happened. You know, you have this need this evening for having, I don't know, some snacks or whatever, and basically, if you don't have this practicity actually to buy it, maybe you are going to wait till Saturday to buy something. So here, basically, it's an ability to address this need, sell more, and also address a different or focus, let's say, on certain personas or certain demographics like younger, affluent, urban, which can be interesting for brands, to build your visibility.
They're like trendsetters as well, no?
Exactly. And so this is for grocery. Restaurants, actually, what is great with FSA is that so far, restaurants were quite a blind spot, because basically it's a huge network. It's very difficult. There is no data on this. And now with FSA, suddenly they offer to the brands the possibility to have this full visibility, up-to-date visibility on what is happening on the restaurants. And restaurants is a huge channel, even if they are, of course, more focused on delivering meals than delivering products. But obviously, there are opportunities for certain brands in food, actually, to sell through this channel.
Yeah, and how did we get here? Because obviously, Deliveroo and these players have been now active for what, more than 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
But also we've seen like these brands entering the market. There was a stage here where we had a lot of like Deliveroo was here, the Foodora was here, Globo was here. So maybe we had like 7 players at the same time. Now we have like 2 or 3 in Spain. There was also especially during around 2019 or 2018 through 2022, we had the emergence and sudden disappearance of pure play Q-commerce grocery players like Getir and Gorillas. Brings the memories, doesn't it?
Yes.
So how did we get here? I don't know if we can have a brief history of food service aggregators and Q-commerce.
It's a super interesting story, and most of the time it's stories of entrepreneurs. If you take, for example, how it happens in the US, first there was a company called Seamless, which saw an opportunity to provide food to offices, employee in offices.
Oh, really?
And they were focusing on ordering, not delivering. And Grubhub was the same, and they merged together. Grubhub was more broader, but basically it was a beautiful business because very light in terms of capital. You solve partly the problem for restaurants,
and you just picked it up. You did they didn't deliver. You just
they didn't deliver. You just help to actually select your meals.
Wow!
But then DoorDash, it's Stanford students that they saw that there were an opportunity in restaurants, and they wanted to help them. First, they developed an app on iPad to help them managing the service in the restaurants. And then they saw this opportunity is that basically, a restaurant owner, their job is to make good food and to deliver properly and to work on the offline experience. But managing a fleet of people delivering is not really what they want to do. So they saw this opportunity, but obviously it's much more difficult to build. They got backed by big funds like Sequoia, several of them, SoftBank. And basically, they developed this network. And to not compete directly with Grubhub at the beginning, they started with the suburbs. And they patiently developed this network of drivers, delivery drivers across the country, and became finally the leader from far. So, and then from the restaurant, they moved to to delivery of other things, and it includes grocery, it includes quick commerce. So you see, and there are many stories like this. Same for in China, Meituan. They were actually first a Me Too of Groupon.
Yeah.
The group things, but then they realized there were 5,000 companies doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And they moved several times, pivoted, and finally went to restaurants. But what we see is that they didn't all came from the same place. Most of them come from restaurants. Some few come, as you said, from quick commerce, and they were pure players. Now, the winning model, and the model that we see most of the time, is actually a mix of these services. And basically, it's a sort of race for the super app.
Yeah.
So they become the convenience provider for the shoppers. There are some few which are slightly different. One of the big outliers is, of course, Instacart, because they really focus on grocery, and they are more on the stock up than actually on the last minute shopping. But overall, this super app model, Uber Eats, Glovo, they all have this type of services, and they expand even beyond food. I mean, you can now order mostly everything from there.
Yeah. Like the Deliveroo interview that we did, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Deliveroo's main business is restaurants, but Susie, for example, looks after grocery and other retailers. So you can order flowers. I mean, effectively, it's like a logistics company with a front end, no?
Yep.
And a lot of, I mean, I guess that the way of, how do they make money, these players?
So they have a certain number of sources. The first thing is that there is a delivery fee paid by the shopper. There is a service fee, which is attached also to this. There is a subscription fee. And if you want, a premium subscription to get delivered faster or for a lower price if you order several times. And of course, there is a commission, which is on the quantity delivered, which is actually invoiced to the retailer or the restaurant. Beyond that, there is also a little bit of retail media. Mostly, the extra visibility right now is mostly for the retailers of the shoppers, because that's what you see on the first page. But there are also some activations that they are developing.
Yeah.
I think this is something that they are going to continue to obviously develop.
We also interviewed Paul Wright, who heads retail media for Uber. So they have some interesting things going on as well, for instance. What about, you mentioned the grocery channel we'll talk about, but it's more or less obvious who plays there and so on. What I'm interested about the restaurant channel, because it's still the majority of the business of these players. How can FMCG brands enter it? Isn't it does it depend entirely on every restaurant, like what they do? How can FMCG brands, what can they do around that?
It's quite different than groceries, because groceries, basically, you have actors, maybe according to the market, there is a certain number, but they are big actors. And basically, you have a way of working on them, which is more like the key account way. Restaurant is different because you have some franchise, which are closer to the key account, let's say groceries, but then you have many independents. To work with them, basically, it requires some adaptation. Obviously, you need a deal with a distributor who is able to provide to them the product. The second one is that you need a sales force, field sales force, but which is, I would say, with a slightly different profile. Because in grocery, most of the time, the people who are visiting the stores are local marketers. They are not selling products; they are actually helping, working on the sellout. Here, for restaurants, you go back to the prospecting. Actually, you have to convince people to buy your product because not everybody have them. And so it's a quite different profile as well. And also, you have to adapt to this. The situation is that you talk about 100,000 of restaurants, and for this, basically, this means that you have to have an approach which is slightly different. It means that you have to be able to segment it, what is the most important for you, which is a quite different approach on what you have on grocery.
Interesting. And the data that you get, how does it add value?
Well, that's the thing. Let's imagine that you see that basically one of your competitors is better than you actually in restaurants. If you don't have any data, what do you do? I mean, basically, you are going to sell to your sales force. Okay, guys, go.
Yeah.
Push. If you have data, it's going to enable you to understand better what is your, how can you progress? Is it because you are not listed in a certain number of restaurants where, for example, your competitor is? Or is it because in these restaurants, they have more products than you? So you're going to understand a little bit where the issue is. And then you can actually segment by cuisines, for example, cuisine types, regions, and basically define slots to say, okay, guys, this is where you have to go. And we can even, develop a strategy because you have these restaurants which are not necessary, they are not FMCG specialists.
Yeah.
And you have to basically develop, you can develop a certain number of initiatives to help them understanding how to sell your product, how to better merchandise them. And also you can develop incentives for them actually, the activations that they can make at the restaurant level or on the site actually to push the products.
Yeah. I mean, and from what you're seeing from your vantage point where you're interacting with a lot of consumer companies, like what do you see like the main challenges that they're having or untapped opportunities for FMCG brands there?
On restaurants specifically, it's really actually to this ability to understand what is happening and basically also to focus on the right restaurants. There are some things also which is really not easy to implement. I would say that there are two things. First, okay, there is data, but it's not a structure at all. This means that, restaurant owners are not data specialists. They are not FMCG specialists, they are data specialists, they have other things to do. So the way they enter the information on the site can be not very clean. So the first thing is that it's not easy to read. And this is why there are people like us, geeky people who are actually working on this data and automate the process to make it more structured and more readable. And there is a second thing is that, what is very difficult to implement in a restaurant is actually to have your brand asset implemented. I mean, if you take typically the image of a product in a restaurant, it's basically a guy taking a picture with his iPhone on the table.
Wow.
Which is not necessarily what you want. I'm not saying the big franchise is not like this.
Yeah, no.
They have teams, they have marketing teams, but an independent is not going to do it. And for that, there are ways actually for the brand to address this. Is that, but basically it's a bit like I saw the same type of practice in B2B. We have there are brands actually who work directly with B2B, and basically it's about being able to share in an easy way your brand asset with the restaurant through a site that they can download, and then to build some incentive actually for them to download your brand assets. It's possible, but it's really network management. It's not like key account where you are talking with few people.
Yeah.
Here you have to work on something which is more broader, and you have to organize for this.
And then in the restaurant channel specifically, you have the thing that it's obviously not for all categories, right? Like it's for soft drinks.
Yeah.
Yes, but for detergent, for example, complicated, no?
Now, detergent, I don't see the potential. However, I think that there is a common interest for brand and restaurant to develop this activity of selling packaged goods. I will tell you why. Is in restaurants, actually they make much more margin on drinks than actually on the meals most of the time.
Wow.
And there is this opportunity to sell more packaged goods. They can sell it at a higher price than in grocery because there is a practicality to have it there. And so for restaurants, it's an opportunity actually to sell more. And you have many categories where you can develop it. Of course, soft drinks, water, alcohol where it's possible, from beers particularly, but also snacks, ice creams. And you can be like creative about, can your product fit in an offering for in a restaurant? And of course, you will tell me, but they don't have a warehouse and they have other things to do than to do this other job.
Yeah.
But there are many concepts of restaurants right now who are which are at the same time having a grocery activity on the selection of products. So I think that there is an opportunity there for the restaurant, and for the brand, it's obvious.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. I went for dinner yesterday in a place that's like a small restaurant, independently owned, like quite hip, and they had like a sign up that said, you can buy any of the wines here to take away for like 20% less. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
How are you helping like FMCG brands navigate the specifically the restaurant delivery space? And I don't know if there's any examples that you can share there.
Yeah, actually, the way we share it is that we really try to define with customers what is important for them. It means in terms of how they see the business and how can we help them to detect the opportunities. And for that, we have created a concept like store clusters, where basically you are going to define the restaurants according to a certain behavior. I'll give you an example. You can define the restaurants where you are present, but at a lower share of products than competition. So this means that in this restaurant, you want to check, apparently there is space, but there is maybe opportunity to push more of your product. Also, we help the customers, for example, to check, okay, is the product in the menu? But also there is an opportunity to push it if it's in the combo. When you are in burger joint, for example, you have this type of concept, but that can be deployed in other restaurants. There is also the upsell feature, like for example, you select a product and it can propose to you an additional a drink, for example. So this is also mechanism that we can help them to detect and see if there is opportunities. Actually, if you see that the competitor can do it and you are not there, there's maybe opportunities there. And also, for example, a restaurant where you were and suddenly you have lost who don't distribute you anymore. And that once again, you can have that with data in a very reactive way. That's something that would be more difficult to detect if you have not data. So basically, it's defining these clusters of restaurants so that customers can very quickly understand where there is something to do.
And they can come up with like a tangible strategy.
Exactly.
But if not, it's like traditionally like in out of home, it's more like really like distributor based, and then it's all about gut feel basically.
Exactly.
And here, even if it's like just a representation of the whole sector of HoReCa, it gives you probably some data points that you can apply to like your larger HoReCa strategy, as a brand, which is super important in some categories.
But that's the power of data-driven decision. It's much more efficient than the gut feeling.
Yeah, totally. That's the thing. Like brands have worked on best practices for QSR or retail, but not necessarily for these emerging channels. And that's probably something that you guys are helping, because ultimately you're not only a tech solution, you're a consultant as well.
Exactly.
In some way.
Exactly. But you see, this is the thing, is that restaurant, the competition is not very big yet. So it's a bit like, a blue ocean place, where you have less competitors, more opportunities, but then you have, of course, to convince the restaurant with the right arguments give you space for your product.
Yeah. And what about the grocery side of these food service aggregators? It's quite an interesting and dynamic space. We talked about the Q-commerce players that kind of came and left, and now we're seeing partnerships as well. But how important actually is it these days for an FMCG to be doing well in this channel?
Yeah. First of all, it's true that when we talk about FSAs, but when we talk about restaurants, we don't talk at all about the same teams than when we talk about grocery. Restaurant is going to be on-premise, offline sales teams. When it's groceries, it's basically e-commerce teams.
Yeah.
So for them today, the way they work on what they need actually is actually to have a solution which is very close to what they have and which is embedded in the same place. So basically, it's another retailer for them. Now how important it is, you still hear from several customers that it's relatively tiny in my sales. I mean, I sell much more on the traditional retailers, but it's an opportunity actually to continue to develop that you can get some additional percents there. And particularly what is important is that, it's maybe not very big, but it's growing. And, we didn't talk about it, but in terms of size, actually, we evaluate that overall the business of FSAs, it's around 150 billion worldwide. So you would tell me, but Amazon is 600?
Yeah.
It's not that much. Yes, but the thing is that, as I told you earlier, here we talk about the fees, on the commissions they get. But if you take into account the value of what they deliver, the merchandise value, you are the amount delivered by the FSAs is mostly the same than the value delivered directly by the groceries and the restaurants. So you can see there is a big volume of transactions being done by them, and it's there is something to do with this with brand.
Yeah, and what are the main? I'll ask you the same question. I mean, what are the main challenges and opportunities that you're seeing for FMCG brands there?
So I would say the main the main challenge right now, I mean, I would say is to organize themselves actually to fully tackle this opportunity. And I think there is an organizational discussion that might happen, particularly with the growth of these FSAs. I mean, today, for example, the people who work on restaurants, FSA is just a way to access to the restaurants. So the real relationship is with the restaurants, not that much with the FSA. Yeah. There can be some activation, but I would say it's relatively marginal. I mean, the main relationship is directly with the restaurants. Tomorrow, there is this question is, so I have these teams which are quite different, with completely different profile, talking with the FSA in a different way. If tomorrow we consider that this is a strategic partner for us, how do we organize to actually talk directly with these guys, develop the visibility of my brand, and basically be able to do this. So there is going probably to be some switch, and we can see that in some customers. For example, we have Heineken as a customer where you have this role of FSA partner. So you have already people who coordinate the teams and work on this. But I think this is probably where this type of FMCG company are going to go, is to be more, to consider basically FSAs as a new channel.
And how do you see this channel fitting, when you compare it to other key accounts? Because that's the thing, it's like a mix. No?
It's a bit different because the retailer, you have negotiations where you have your listing, it's a certain way of working. FSA is going to be slightly different because you don't the food service aggregator don't control everything. They don't control the product you put. But they are able to help you developing the visibility of your product, which is key at the end. But I think having this holistic view inside the FSAs to actually be able to understand across this channel what should I do to improve my brand visibility, something that is, in my opinion, going to go. And, even ourselves today, this is what we think in terms of product. Today we have a product, basically, which is quite separated for restaurants and groceries, because we consider that, the people, that's the need of the customer.
Yeah.
But we have this thought tomorrow, maybe there is this FSA view that we should build. not in the same platform in a way that enable the customers actually to address and fully tackle this FSA opportunity.
What does your product look like in terms of like tackling grocery and tackling restaurants and FSA? Like, what do you actually what value are you supplying to your clients in FMCG?
So this is a SaaS product. So basically, it's available. You connect, you are there, and basically everything is at the same place. So that's the first thing, is that even if there is a hierarchy on organization of the different reports, it's all in the same place. But when it's about grocery, we are going to show the full digital shelf. And here you are going to, it's organized by main topics. So there is one which is more execution, so assortment, price, promotions. One which is dedicated to the PDP content, and one which is fully dedicated to the visibility and the different component of visibility. And basically, it's a way to enable to really maximize your or optimize your visibility on the grocery side. For the restaurants today, it's true that the structure is slightly different, but we make it evolve. But basically, here we focus on the commercial execution, which is really where the most important KPIs are, and a little bit of content as well to check if the content, how can we improve actually the content there. But overall, it's true that we have chosen to not show consistent KPIs between grocery and restaurant because they are just different.
Yeah.
So we had to develop this in a different way.
Totally.
And so this is two things. You have to adapt the front end and obviously the back end as well, because it's not exactly the same way of scraping. Scraping such an amount and such a volume of restaurants is of course a challenge, but basically we love challenges.
And what type of outcomes are you seeing brands getting from this data already? Like what type of like quick wins can they get?
But it's always the same. Is that they detect, by seeing all these different stimuli, there's these different elements of the digital shelf on the restaurants, on the retailers. Actually, what you find is opportunities to improve the impact of your brand, and at the end, it's just additional improvement in the market share. So, I mean, what you have to see is all these things that we talk about, these 4 Ps, this digital self, at the end of the day, it's true that we don't show necessarily the sales. I mean, sometimes the customer give us the sales so that we can measure how it is. But basically, all these have an impact on sales. And we made this exercise with customers actually to make some modeling between these elements of the digital shelf on the sales. And yes, they have a direct impact, particularly visibility and execution. I mean, assortment, price, promotion. You can see that there is clearly coefficients that show that actually improving these types of KPIs enable to improve the sales.
Yeah, interesting. And I think, as you said, you're evolving because you need to, because the channel is rapidly evolving. How do you see it evolving in the next, let's call it even like a year and a half? I think we can't go any further than that.
Yeah. I think there are several things going on. The main one is obviously, so you see these channels and this way of delivering data, which is really evolving. And particularly, I mean, if we talk about FSAs, I think overall there is something that is going to disrupt the full industry is what we see in AI. And, I have not been so far very excited by buzzword, but this one here, we see very tangible initiative about innovation that are really going to disrupt the market. But I mean, we would need to have a full episode on that if we want to discuss about
coming up.
But FSAs, I think here there are several developments that are going to happen, and it's funny because there are some few obstacles. I mean, the fact that the salary of the drivers and the social condition of the drivers could be obviously a barrier, but so far they have been able to tackle them. But it's true that the fact that you have freelance people who don't have the same cover than people who are in permanent contracts, it's really a discussion. There is a second one is that, okay, if these FSAs continue to grow, where are they going to grow? And there could be some tension with retailers, because if they, basically by delivering a service, they take some commission. So that there is this margin discussion that they will need to have with the retailers. And the second one is that if more people go on the FSA side, they go less on the retailer side, which means that for the monetization of retail media,
interesting.
So there's going to be some tensions.
Yeah.
However, what I feel is that FSAs are very well placed to fulfill, for me, the main driver of the FMCG e-commerce, which is convenience. So I see them continuing to grow. And even what I'm thinking about is that I think at some point they could go into enlarge their service to go in something which is closer to the even for the stock up, which means that at some point the retailers will have this choice of saying, or they can establish themselves as a go-to platform to purchase product. So, for example, Amazon, Walmart are able to Carrefour, Tesco, these type of guys.
Yeah, they have a huge assortment.
Yeah, and they have the muscles to develop the tech to become really an appealing place. But then I'm not giving all the names. Obviously, there are much more retailers able to do this. But then I think for some retailers, there could be this question to say, okay, finally, isn't it a bit the same situation on restaurants? Is that at the end, my specialty is to develop offline experience on the brand. And these guys, they are very good at selling you things that you didn't think about. I mean, when I'm sent to a hypermarket, I have a list of 4 products. Well, I forget 2, but I buy 20.
Yeah.
And this is where they are really good at. E-commerce is much more difficult for this impulse thing. And I think that maybe there could be a reflection in the retailers at some point to think, okay, but maybe this e-commerce part, which is not that profitable and requires a lot of investment, maybe I should outsource it.
Yeah.
So there could be this partnership between FSAs and retailers that deepens even for some of them.
But could we be in a kind of Trojan horse situation where, because I know that there's some food service aggregators that have exclusivity deals with supermarkets, for example, where you can buy from a supermarket through one of these FSAs.
Yeah,
they got, once you got the consumer traffic on the app, then it's easy to switch. Not easy, but like, you know what I mean? Easy to switch to having your own grocery and saying buy it to that retailer, no?
Yeah, but there's going to be, I think, retailers are going to become more convenient on going more through the FSAs, and the FSAs are going to become, enlarge actually their services. Yes, it can be, and that's what I was saying at the beginning. I mean, there are going to be conflicts.
Yeah.
Between retailers and FSA, but there's going to be also opportunities to partner. So it's going to be a little bit a mix of both, and they will have to sort out how they want to interact between each other.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, if there's any FMCG brand, which will probably be a few of them listening in that want to learn more about Shalion, what's the best way to get in touch?
But I have I can. We can put my contact.
We can put your contact in the show notes.
We have many ways to contact us, and obviously we are very happy to answer to any questions.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot, Gael, for joining me today here live. And thanks to our audience as well for tuning in. And we'll see you in the next episode of the FMCG Guys. Have a great day.